Hello, welcome back. In this video, I'm talking about some of the major changes that took place in China after the triumph within the Communist Party of the Modernist communists. The Modernist communists, under the leadership of Deng Xiaoping, they triumphed over other kinds of communists, particularly the radical communists. And one of the major changes that came about after this, of course, was the rise of private markets in China. After Mao died and the Cultural Revolution had come to an end and the modernist communists had really taken over within the party, there was a new emphasis on growing the economy, and there was a new acceptance, a kind of general acceptance that social inequality was pretty much okay as long as it helped grow the economy. Social inequality had for a long time been very controversial amongst party members. Many people considered it very dangerous for China, and private markets, which allowed for the accumulation of private wealth, had, particularly during the Cultural Revolution, been considered really unacceptable. But Deng Xiaoping, once he had secured his place as paramount leader, he made the very famous statement, "It doesn't matter if the cat is black or yellow, as long as it catches mice, it's a good cat." This phrase is often associated with the 1980s and the market reforms of the 1980s, but in fact, Deng Xiaoping had made this statement much earlier originally. He'd said this in the early 1960s, at a time when he and Liu Shaoqi had been really running day-to-day affairs within the party and trying to get the economy going again after the disaster of the Great Leap Forward. And what he meant was, doesn't matter if we're a socialist country or a capitalist country, if markets work for us, then we should utilize them. One of the things that Deng Xiaoping had been advocating for at that time was that within the people's communes, these were the large collective farms, which is how agriculture was organized at that time, he was supportive of the idea that some people or households should have their own plots to manage for themselves, and that they should be able to sell some of their produce privately, as long as that would encourage people to produce more agricultural goods and kickstart the economy in the countryside. That had been considered hugely controversial at the time, and after the Cultural Revolution started in 1966, all of that was really shut down. Well, now that Mao is no longer around and the radical kinds of communists have really been swept from their positions within the party, Deng and the modernist communists are able to forge ahead with this new set of policies. So you're starting to see these kinds of policies being put into practice all across the Chinese countryside. So you're starting to see the people's communes being dismantled and agricultural land being completely reorganized. It's being divided up into small plots of land, and these are being designated out to individual households so that these households can manage those plots. They don't own them, by the way. This isn't a transformation of land ownership. Land ownership is still collective, but individual households can manage the land. This is called the household responsibility system, and this is a huge transformation from the way that agricultural land was organized in the Mao period. So once these households, they start to produce their own goods, they have to sell a certain amount of their produce to the state at state-planned prices. But once they've fulfilled a particular quota, anything that's left over, they can sell privately on markets, so they can sell it more expensively at market prices. That means that they can start to accumulate some of the wealth from that for themselves. And at this point, you start to see some households in the countryside starting to get a bit richer than others. And you start to see, in fact, across the board, incomes in the countryside really starting to rise. Deng Xiaoping, of course, being a modernist communist, he doesn't mind a bit of social inequality. So a very famous slogan from him at this time was, "Let some get rich before others." This is a real sign that the commitment to social egalitarianism, which had really characterized the Mao period, that's really completely gone now. What we're starting to see here is the very, very beginnings of the market reform period in China, which over the next few decades completely transformed the whole country. Thank you for watching.